Contrary to popular belief, a meme isn't just a cute picture with text on it. Memes are a special type of belief that we inherit from someone else. We usually get our memes from family members, close friends, or mentors. Our beliefs and our memes come from the assumptions we make about how the world works. We all make these assumptions every day. If these assumptions lead to positive consequences in our lives, we don't need to change anything. But if these assumptions are leading to negative consequences, we can choose to change our assumptions. The assumptions we make about the way the world works become our perceptions. Our perceptions are the way we view the world, or our worldview. Perceptions are the filter or the lens we use to see the world. Our worldview over time then creates our reality. If we don't like the world we've created, we can learn to change it by consciously choosing to change our assumptions and perceptions. We all make assumptions every day about the way the world works. I assume when I get out of bed in the morning that the sun has indeed come up again. When I make my way to the bathroom, I assume the power is on, so I'll be able to turn on the lights to get in the shower. When I get in my car and drive downtown, I assume that my office hasn't burned down during the night and I still have a place to practice. As I make my way through the day's schedule, I assume my clients will show up for their appointments. While some of these assumptions are more accurate and valid than others, they are all assumptions. Of course, we all have to make a certain number of assumptions every day. For most of us, the vast majority of these assumptions are effective, and they lead to positive results and positive consequences. However, on occasion, we might make assumptions that lead us to negative consequences. So our assumptions can be both positive and negative. I assume my wife loves me and that our relationship together will be positive and productive. Because of this, we usually have a positive experience and a good relationship. What if, on the other hand, I always assumed that she was cheating on me? Would that be likely to result in a positive experience for me or for my wife? What if I made such an assumption with zero evidence to back it up other than my own opinion? Would that be more likely to result in a positive or a negative outcome? Our assumptions lead to our beliefs about life and our place in it. Our assumptions also lead to how we interact with others in our lives. Taken together, all of our assumptions about the way the world works create a lens through which we view the world. This lens is our perception. There's a thing called confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is just a tendency we all have to look for evidence that supports our beliefs and assumptions while rejecting any evidence to the contrary. This rejection of contradictory evidence doesn't even have to operate on a conscious level. It can be an automatic, subconscious process. The magicians Penn and Teller once did an experiment on perceptions for their television show. The experiment involved how people perceived organically grown food versus food grown by traditional farming methods. In this experiment, they divided a banana in half. Participants in this experiment were told that the two halves of the banana were actually from different bananas. One was grown organically and one was grown with traditional farming. Both halves of the banana were actually from the same fruit, but participants were not aware of this fact. People consistently identified the banana that was supposedly grown organically as having better flavor and texture than the other half of the same banana. What had happened here was that the people in the experiment had a perception about organic fruit. This perception actually worked to create a different taste experience for different halves of the same banana, based on their assumptions about the superiority of organically grown fruit. We all have a natural tendency to allow our assumptions color our perceptions of the world. If I assume, for example, that my wife loves me, I'm going to automatically look for evidence to support that theory while rejecting any evidence to the contrary. If I assume that my wife hates me, I will likewise look for evidence to support that claim while rejecting any evidence to the contrary. My assumptions about my wife's feelings for me have created a perception filter that causes me to seek out evidence to confirm my assumptions. In this way, our assumptions and perceptions work together in ways that tend to create the day-to-day reality we experience. Together, these assumptions and perceptions form our confirmation bias of our day-to-day reality. That is, we're automatically biased to create a reality based on our assumptions and our perceptions. We create our reality based on our assumptions and our perceptions about the world and our place in it. By making assumptions about the world and using our perceptions based on those assumptions to look for evidence to support our beliefs, we eventually create a reality that reflects those assumptions and perceptions. We'll look more closely at how this happens in the next episode, but for now consider that each of us has a story. This story is about us. It's our own autobiography, and we are the authors. I can use my assumptions and perceptions to write this story, and I can use this story to create the reality of my life. If, for example, I assume that I am a happy, well-adjusted person, and I look for evidence to support this assumption, I have set my perception filter to look for such evidence. As I write the story of a happy, well-adjusted person, I create that reality in my life. Such a story is independent of the circumstances in which I find myself. I can be happy and well-adjusted living in a cardboard box under a bridge if I have learned to seek evidence that creates that reality for myself. I can also create a story that would lead me to be unhappy and miserable even if I lived in a palace and had all the money in the world. It's therefore not external circumstances of my life that create my emotional reality. It is my assumptions and perceptions about who I am and what I choose to be that create my reality. So our assumptions work together to create our perceptions, and our perceptions create our reality. Let's take a closer look at how this process works. Suppose I have an assumption that everybody in the world is out to get me. So that assumption will set my perception filter to look for evidence that supports that assumption. So anytime anyone acts towards me in a way that can be interpreted as negative, I add that to my collection of evidence that everybody is out to get me. At the same time, something interesting happens. Because my perception filter is set to look for evidence that people are out to get me, I'm going to look for that evidence even when people aren't out to get me. Suppose someone isn't out to get me but is instead trying to do something nice for me. Since my perception filter is set for people are out to get me, how am I going to interpret this person's nice actions? The answer is that since my assumption is that everyone is out to get me, this person can't really be doing anything nice just to be nice, so I'm going to conclude instead that this person is really only being nice in order to get something from me or to take advantage of me. My perceptions will cause me to believe that the person that is really being nice just to set me up so that I'll be caught off guard. So with my perception filter set in this way, everybody looks like they're out to get me. And I found evidence to confirm my assumption because to me, even people who aren't out to get me look like people who are out to get me. So how do these assumptions and perceptions work together to create my reality? Let's look at the other side for a moment. Imagine I'm someone trying to do something nice for you. I'm doing it because I think you're a good person and I'd like to be your friend. But since your perception filter is set only to look for evidence that confirms your assumption that everybody is out to get me, you're going to treat my attempts at being nice as attempts to take advantage of you. How long would I continue to try to be nice to you if you continue to treat me as if I am out to get you? Probably not for very long. Eventually I'm going to get tired of being treated like I'm out to get you, and I'll give up and go away and stop trying to be your friend. The longer you continue to act on this particular assumption and perception, the more nice people you're going to drive away. And eventually, of course, the only people left willing to interact with you will be people who are out to get you. So your assumptions and your perceptions have worked together to create a reality in which everybody remaining in your life really is out to get you. Emotional aggression is usually the result of assumptions that others should be responsible for our emotional states. One way this could occur is if I assume that my partner should be responsible for my happiness. If I make such assumptions, then I've given up responsibility for my own emotional states. If I do that, then my moods will always be at the mercy of someone else's whims, since I've placed my own emotional freedom in their hands. If I instead choose to assume that only I can be responsible for my own emotional well-being, then I set my perception filter to reflect that assumption. I can then look for evidence to support that assumption. By looking for evidence that supports my assumption that I must be responsible for my own emotional well-being, I create a reality in which I can choose to be happy and content no matter how others respond or react to me. Think about some assumptions you may be making about your emotions and moods. How have these assumptions altered your perceptions? How have these perceptions created your present reality? How might you change your assumptions to get different perceptions so that you can create a different reality? The Assumptions, Perceptions, Reality Triad is a way to think about some of your assumptions and perceptions and the realities you've created by those assumptions and perceptions. Our beliefs, memes, and behaviors are a result of our assumptions and perceptions. This exercise allows you to think about some of the assumptions and perceptions that may have led you to behave in emotionally aggressive ways. How have your assumptions and perceptions worked together to create your reality? Is it a reality you enjoy? If not, how can you go about changing your assumptions and perceptions so you get a different reality? How many of your assumptions and perceptions might be causing you to behave in emotionally aggressive ways? You may remember the episode of Mindful Moments where we discussed the 3 P's of permanent, personal, and pervasive. Note that pervasive and permanent statements tend to take on an all or nothing approach. So for example, suppose you have the assumption that everyone is out to get me. The word everyone in that assumption is an example of all or nothing thinking. When you use the word everyone, you're including every person you interact with on a daily basis. Another example of all or nothing thinking would be the assumption that nobody cares about me. In this case, you're saying that no person you interact with cares about you, ever. The good news about such assumptions is that you only need one example to prove them wrong. All you need to refute the assumption that everyone is out to get me is a single example of a person who is not out to get you. All you need to refute the assumption that nobody cares about me is to find a single person who cares about you. It may be that most people in your life are out to get you, or most people in your life don't care about you. But if you can find one person who isn't out to get you, or one person who cares about you, then that means it's possible to find such people. And if you can find such people, then you can't say always or never. Also, if you can find such people, if you do it once, you can do it again. The more you introduce the possibility that there are people out there who aren't out to get you, or that there are people out there who do care about you, the more you reset your perception filter to look for more people with that quality. The more people you find with that quality, the more you create a reality that makes it possible to find even more people who aren't out to get you and who do care about you. This is the way to use your assumptions and perceptions to create a reality that you do want rather than a reality that you don't want. If you use your assumptions and perceptions to look for solutions instead of problems, you create a reality based on solutions rather than problems. The Assumptions, Perceptions, Reality Meme Triad is a way for you to challenge assumptions and perceptions that may be leading you to unproductive realities, so that they may be changed to solution-focused assumptions, perceptions, and realities. Graphing such a meme out in Triad form, as shown on the screen here, gives you the opportunity to create positive memes out of negative memes by changing your assumptions and perceptions. By changing your assumptions and perceptions, you create a new reality based on the new assumptions and perceptions. Think about some assumptions and perceptions that have led you to a reality you didn't want to experience. How might those assumptions and perceptions be challenged to create a different reality? By creating this new reality, you're exercising the mindful skill of the power of intention. If your goal is to lead a more effective life, then setting your intention through examining your assumptions and perceptions and the reality they create is the way to achieve this goal. Next time on Mindful Moments, we'll talk about how to build family resilience using the mindful skills we've already discussed so far. Hi, this is Dr. Charlton Hall. I'm the Executive Director of the Mindful Ecotherapy Center. If you're enjoying our videos, please don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell to be informed when new videos are released. You can also learn more about the work of the Mindful Ecotherapy Center by visiting our website at mindfulecotherapy.org.